There we go. All right. I guess we're on. Hope so. Can't tell. Can't tell. Anyway, you guys are on. Good. So, and you can hear me, I'm sure. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. All right, cool. So, Sunday Night Live. Sawadee Kap, Namaste, and aloha to everyone from everywhere. And not sure why. There we go. Okay, so we're on everywhere. Cool. So, next week I'm going to the U.S. So pray for me. No, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to the U.S. and I'll be flying on Sunday, so I won't be able to. I'll be flying on your Sunday, my Monday, so I won't be able to be here next week. So um, we can postpone for a week, or I can do it the following day. But that would be a Monday night for you guys, right? So it's probably not as good because you're working, etc. So probably not so good. Anyway, so we're gonna have to skip a week. It's the first time we had to skip a week. Why is this? There we go. There we go. I think okay, cool. All right. So anyway, I don't know what to say about that, but have to fly on Monday. Okay, so I'm going to give it. I think I mentioned last time I'm going to give a talk at at an ozone convention in Dallas on May 4th about vitamin C and cancer, and then off to Arizona with Oasis working. Yeah, great, Julie. Judy, thank you. Hi, everyone. Hey. Okay. So Parkinson's. Before we get started, Parkinson's. Yeah, that's another. That's you know, Parkinson's is related to lots of things: pesticides, fungus, all kinds of poisons that get in the brain. Number one, number two, it's related to if anyone got injected with these with the genetically modifying, immune suppressing um, artificial intelligence interface by Pfizer and Moderna, then that also is going to big time affect neuroinflammation, because probably one of the main things that the spike protein does is affect the nervous system um, and, um, and the immune system, but big time the nervous system. And so we're seeing a lot of what we would call ALS, Parkinson's, MS, all these sorts of things from these injections. So be aware of that. I'm not sure what happened with your family there. Anyway, thank you, Doria. Thank you very much. I'm not going to be getting to California at all. I'm sorry about that. I'm there only a short time, like 3 weeks in Arizona, and I gotta I need to see some of the patients there and talk to the. Yeah, I'm sure Florida's amazing. All right, and then someone's coming the first. Carrie, fantastic. You guys are all coming. Can I repeat what again? Right. If you knew what I said, you wouldn't have to ask it. Following the indication of when. Can you repeat what again? I'm not sure what I need. Anyway, let's get to the questions because I don't want to skip that. Okay, so let's look at some questions. Okay, good. Okay, so here's a question: do you recommend yearly mammograms? Um, well, I'll bet people that have seen me before don't already know the answer to that question. But no, that's a good question. And everyone, do I recommend mammograms? Absolutely not. Never. Not even ever. Not even. It's like it's a word that you have to like pretend like you never heard the word and you don't know what they mean. So when they say it's time for a mammogram or should you get a mammogram, it's like saying, listen, it's time for a. And if they say it's time for a, then you have to say, I don't know what you're talking about. And you walk away. Okay. So this is from Peggy. Peg. Yeah. Okay. So Peg. Anyway. So, but I want to just tell you a little bit. Why am I saying that? Because I don't just make up things. But it's really important. Anybody who's, and then after that, I need to talk about coffee enemas because I promised somebody 2 weeks in a row that I want to talk about coffee enemas. So I will talk about it. But here's what I want to do. Okay. So anyway, when we're talking about mammograms. Okay, I want you to understand what a mammogram is. They're going to take your breast and they're going to squash it. It's going to cause trauma. Right? Why do I know that? Because pain. Pain is one of the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation. And inflammation is a result is the process of healing from trauma. Okay, that's what inflammation is. I mean, it not only from trauma, but inflammation in almost anything is the initial part of healing. That's why inflammation is absolutely essential and necessary and good. It's not a bad thing. Okay, chronic inflammation is a different story. But anyway, so so they squash your breast and then they irradiate it. Okay. And then they irradiate it. So what's the problem with that? You're irradiating, that you're using ionizing radiation, killer stuff, to image a breast. Now, what they have done, I want to share a couple studies with you. Now this was back in 1997. Okay, I'm just going to read a little bit to you because it's important to know. Okay. The increased use of screening mammograms has resulted in a marked increase in detected cases of ductal carcinoma in situ since the early 80s. Okay, so they've been using it more and more and more. Okay, so in this study, they were saying that in 1993 there were 23,275 newly diagnosed DCIS. 4,600 were women 40 to 49. DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ, that many of you have heard about, was accounted for all the newly diagnosed ones. Okay, DCIS. Now, as a consequence, there were 1,890 mastectomies and 2,707 lumpectomies for DCIS. Okay, that's how they treat DCIS. Now, okay, so you're saying, well, good, they found it early. No, they didn't find it early. They made it. The mammograms actually produce it. So another study, this was in 2010. Okay, ductal carcinoma in situ is a relatively common diagnosis among women undergoing screening mammography. The greatest increase in DCIS incidences have been in the subtype. Okay, so there was a 500% increase in DCIS from 1983 to 2003 since they started using mammograms. Okay, now it turns out that. Now I'm going to read their words. This is not my words. This is their words. So please listen to this. By the way, what journal article is this? This is in the epidemiology. This is, in JNCI Monographs, Volume 2010. Well respected, a lot. But epidemiology of ductal carcinoma in situ is the name of the article. Okay, and it says. I guess I have to put this up here. Okay. And it says, having undergone mammography is one of the strongest and most prevalent risk factors associated with a diagnosis of DCIS. Other risk factors for DCIS are similar to that for invasive cancer, including increasing age, family history of breast cancer, high mammographic breast density, so if you have dense breasts, and postmenopausal hormone treatment therapy. Postmenopausal hormone treatment therapy, they're talking about postmenopausal hormone treatment therapy with synthetic patented drugs, specifically progestins, okay, not biologically identical hormone treatment. Biologically or identical hormone treatment just helps you preserve your youth for a little bit longer, because we grew up in a world that is unnatural, and we are aging. We age quickly. We age about 50 to 60 years, 80 years maybe ahead of what we should. Yeah. We should be virile, able to have children, women up to 65, men to 110, easily, running up and down hills at 120, 130, 140. That's what we should be doing, right? And being healthy and happy but we're not. We're not, because we never had it so good. We've never had it so good, right? We've never had it so good, right? The world has never had it so good. We have all these devices. Wow. Our lives are better. Are they not? Are our lives not better? Much better. Well, for those of you who tragically were born recently, then you might not know that it was before so much better. So much better. So remember one thing, okay, and keep this in mind clearly. Whatever you learn from media, from computers, from any of that stuff, anything that's out there now, whatever you learn, you think you're learning, is, unless you're learning something specific and technical about how to run a computer. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about ideas, concepts, is the opposite of the truth. The opposite of the truth. If they're saying this is happening, you know that's not happening. It's a distraction and something else is happening. Always, not most of the time. Always. So whatever the headlines are, realize they don't matter. They're just a distraction, because the real stuff is going on in the background, and you'll know as soon as it becomes evident. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that so what were the other high risk factors? Age. Well, what is age? Why would age be a risk factor for cancer, invasive cancer? Well, we know, because our immunity goes down. And why does our immunity go down? Because our thymus gland begins to involute, and it can't make T cells, and we're not making T cells very well anymore, and we're not activating our natural killer cells anymore, right? That's what happens. Okay, so you can do that. You can get thymosin alpha 1, which is a peptide, works very nicely. Give yourself some injections, mild injections. It's an easy thing to do. And that really helps. And the other thing is taking certain supplements, eating right, living right, all that stuff, and you can slow down this rapid race into old age. I mean, I'm talking about not old age. It's not old age. Old age is a wonderful thing. Degeneration that we associate with old age. But anyway, the point here is that having undergone mammography is one of the strongest and most prevalent risk factors associated with the diagnosis of DCIS. And the other ones are increasing age, breast density, and hormone therapy that they give you. Treatment for DCIS is relatively aggressive, with the use of both surgery and radiation. Wow! And it's not even, and it's increased. It increased what, 500%. So you have to understand the reason it increases because it's picking it up. That's why they want you to do mammograms. Okay. Now, when a mammogram is positive, what are they going to say? You know what? Mammogram is positive, so we're going to confirm it with an ultrasound. So, any 9-year-old would say, well, why don't we just do that? ultrasound first. All right. So let's look at this article here. Another article. I had to get into this because mammograms really bother me. They bother me that they're still legal. They shouldn't be legal. Okay, so here's an article in the journal Cancer: Trends in Breast Biopsy Pathology Diagnosis among Women Undergoing Mammography in the United States. Okay, this is a report from the Breast Cancer Surveillance Consortium, 2015. Okay, 2015, not that long ago. All right, so they said that there have been 4,020,000 mammograms between 1996 and 2008 that were linked to 76,567 pathological specimens. That means of all those mammograms, that's how many they either did. Of all those mammograms, the 4 million mammograms, 76,000 resulted in either doing lumpectomies or mastectomies. Okay, I just want you to see. Now, 2009, there was a study of comparative accuracy of mammography, and ultrasound in women with breast symptoms according to age and breast density. Okay, now accuracy. This is their study. This was published in the Boston Journal of Basic Medical Sciences, 2009. Okay, and what does it say? Comparing the sensitivity of mammography and ultrasound according to the breast density indicates that mammography. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, mammographic sensitivity was 82.2% among women with predominantly fatty breasts, but only 23% with dense breasts. Okay, now the ultrasound had same sensitivity with fatty breasts, but a 57% for dense breasts, 57% accuracy versus 23% accuracy for dense breasts. Okay, so therefore, and again, published 2011. There was another study, 2011, in the journal Epidemiology, and it's characterizing the impact of 25 years of DCIS treatment, right? Because you don't treat DCIS. You don't treat LCIS, which is lobular carcinoma in situ. You don't treat ductal carcinoma in situ. What does this mean? That means there's a chronically fermenting group of cells sitting around in their original place, and they haven't moved. They haven't done anything. All right. So what do you do in those situations? You change your life. You clean out. You do everything. You meditate. You do everything we talk about, and it'll go away. It'll go away. But instead, what they did is they got the mammograms, which allow them to find what they call DCIS. So here's what the data indicate. Our data indicate that the sensitivity and specificity of ultrasound was statistically significantly greater than mammograms in patients with breast symptoms. And for detection of breast cancer in benign lesions, particularly in dense breasts in young women. Okay. Can I say that's, Okay, so the answer to your question, should you get yearly mammogram? The answer is absolutely 100% no. By the way, someone asked the question here, and I want everyone to please listen to me. All right? This is a question, okay? And from Janet, and it's a question that I could probably get from anyone, and it says, how do you detox from the jab? Okay, so linguistic manipulation. If you haven't read 1984, it's not too late. But George Orwell goes into it, and we've known about it since, 100 years ago. Actually, 110 years ago, 20 years ago is when the whole field of propaganda began. and it's been used by politicians, and there. I mean, it's been by you know, corporations that do that for politicians and for their clients. And most of their clients are politicians and things like that. So Woodrow Wilson did it for World War One, right? That's how, because he ran on a ticket for re-election in 1915 or something, 16. Because World War One had already started in Europe, so he ran on a ticket saying that he kept our boys out of war, knowing full well that the moment he got elected, that he was going to enter the war, because it was the part of these wars are not what we think they are. It's not like for righteous and liberty and spreading democracy and all that. These wars are because it's part of their game. It's part of the guys that run the world, right? The guys that run the world, the elite, the financiers. It's part of their it's time for a war. We've got a lot of money into military equipment. We've got all these bombs. We've got back in those days, we've got these guns. We got to use them. And we need to trade some land. I want this country to get that. They're just these are the guys playing Monopoly. That's where the game Monopoly came from. Okay. So anyway, so Woodrow Wilson had to convince them. So he hired a group of people, and they did it. They sold it. They sold the war, and then America entered the war. What was it? 1916, 17, right? Fought for it was called the Great War. It was like horrible. It was. I can't remember how many millions of people were killed, and they like it. Those guys that invented this stuff, the jab. Now, here's the thing about the jab. If you use their words, then you're already in their game. Don't use their words. Don't perpetuate their lie. Don't perpetuate their lie. Okay, don't use words like pandemic. Those don't, because there was none. There was none. The true pandemic, as you all know, and I know, is cancer. It's a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Okay, so there wasn't one. Now, also, normally when you think of the old days, hi Margie, the old days, and you think about the old days of the old-fashioned vaccinations, which were the only difference is they didn't have the gene modification technology at that point, but they were still doing nasty things like injecting SV40 and resulting in all sorts of probably the biggest why we have so much chronically fermenting cells going on right now. Okay, yeah. So propaganda. Okay, so here's the thing. With the old types of old-fashioned vaccinations, if you got a polio vaccine, you wouldn't get polio. If you got a measles vaccine, you wouldn't get measles. But if you get this particular one for the COVID 19, you have more with each booster. You have more the chance of getting it, whatever it is. All right, so it increases the risk. So it can't be called a vaccine by definition. By definition, not because I said that, because by definition, it's not preventing anything. It's increasing the likelihood of it happening. Okay, so that's not okay. So therefore, we don't use the word vax, and we don't use the word because vax is cute, isn't it? Cute is such a cute word. I love vax. Yeah, and well, another cute word is jab. I just got a jab. It's just a jab. Don't worry about it. It's just a jab. They threw that in. I'm telling you, BBC, CNN, they threw it in quickly. As soon as it became mandatory, they threw it in. And now we're walking around saying it's not a jab. A jab is a branch hits you, you jab your friend. All right, enough of that. Anyway, the way you detox from that is very good. Nattokinase and lots of flavonoids and other kinds of antioxidants that are, you find them naturally in plants, and you can get vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, all of the anti-inflammatories, because what the spike protein does, what the mRNA teaches your cells to start producing by the trillions spike protein, and the spike proteins go around and they enter cells, and they establish in an inflammatory response, right? That's what they do. So it turns out that nattokinase, there was a study published just recently, this year, out of Japan, where they found that nattokinase, which we all talked about it before, for blood clotting, right? Because when you have chronically fermenting cells, you know that you're going to have an increased tendency to make blood clots. So it's just good to take nattokinase a couple times a day, 2 to 3 capsules twice a day on an empty stomach, just to keep your blood from forming too many clots. But if you have that injection, then you probably should be taking three times a day on an empty stomach to dissolve it. It'll dissolve it, and it'll break down the clots, because one of the things that happens from that protein, that spike protein, is it causes clots and inflammation, big time inflammation, central nervous system inflammation. A lot of dementia, a lot of people walk around not knowing what's going on anymore because of that, right? And I think that was part of the idea. Yeah. Part of the idea. Don't need to know what's going on. Here, just eat this. Just take this. Just smell this. Just inject this. Yeah. So, by the way, and the thing it does is, you remember we talked about it, and this is very relevant for chronically fermenting cellular conditions, and that is, we've talked in the past many times about immunity. There's kind of immunity can be in a polarity. It's what they call Th1 polarity versus Th2 polarity, and the Th stands for the helper cell, right? So the T cells. And then the Th1 polarity, which is one you want to be polarized in that area, because that means if something comes in, yeah, fluoride's in the water to knock out your pineal, absolutely. So I can't read those things. What was I talking about? I forgot. Oh, what was it? What was I talking about? Oh well, it'll come to me. Oh, Th1, Th2 immunity, right? Okay, so Th1 immunity is the one you want to have, because if you get a chronically fermenting cell, you've got all the macrophages and the dendritic cells and every neutrophil there will just grab it, eat it. It's gone. Okay, if that Th1 is high, you won't get it. But if you slip over to the Th2, that's going to support it to happen. So Th2 is kind of where you go with aging, when you lose your thymus, when you lose your thymic function. Okay, and that's where you go with aging. So you go into a Th2 state. But there are a couple of things that are they're good that bring it back. And two that I can think of immediately are ozone and quercetin. Both bring you back to a Th1, which is very good. Okay, so does fever. So does IL-2. A lot of things can bring you back to Th1. You got to get back to Th1, because you get back to Th1, you can get rid of this. If not, if you're in Th2, you're not going to. But anyway, that's what this injection does, that they call a JAB. It's not a JAB. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. It's not an innocuous, cute little word like that. It's a very serious. It doesn't get more serious than that. It's not cute. Not cute. Now, anyway, so the point is, let's leave this thing with the mammograms, but the point is that ultrasounds, let me summarize. Mammograms, you can't say, are either causing or picking up DCIS. And it's pretty, and we know that the frequency of mammograms increases, is an increased chance of detecting DCIS, the more frequently you get them. So really, no one wants to study the fact, are these actually causing it? But anyway, we know they are, because there's been a 500% increase. So anyway, and that results in, so first of all, so you don't need the mammogram. And so, as you would say, well, look, but I need it because, well, you don't need it, because the ultrasound we've already we've already shown you, is more accurate. So the ultrasound is more accurate. Very important thing to know. Now, here's the big question for you all. So you do your yearly whatever you do, and you find out there's something there. What are you going to do? That's the thing. For them, they're going to quickly, because I'm telling you, if you go there, if you go to them and they find something, before you leave, the standard of scare states that they're going to scare you to death. They're going to destroy your ability to think. They're going to destroy your ability to have an immune system. They're going to shunt all the blood away from your organs into your muscles and to your hindbrain. Forget your prefrontal cortex. All these things that happen with fear. And this is big fear. They've been working on this fear since 1907. 1907, they've been working on this word, Reknak, that we won't say the other way around. We don't want that word. That's their word. That's a Rockefeller word. Okay? Rockefeller word. John D. Jr., Rockefeller word. Senior was demented by then. He was down for the count. I don't think he was dead yet, but yeah, he was down for the count. The guy that started the whole thing, right? By the way, he was financed. He got some financing from, guess who? Guess who? He got financing from guys called, it's a family, a little well-known family in Europe called the Rothschilds. And I think the Rothschilds also were involved with J.P. Morgan. Remember J.P. Morgan? Right? All those guys that set up, that were sitting on just happened to go to Jekyll Island, and have a meeting, and they came out with the word Federal Reserve Act. Anyway, that's when you understand, this has all been going on for a long time. Okay, so now, sorry, I get distracted so much. But so now, is it true not to take RALA when someone has amalgam fillings? No, that's not true. That's not true. ALA is good. Alpha lipoic acid, you want to be taking it often. Remember, alpha lipoic acid is, and that's why we like to take it with if you have it in your body when you get vitamin C, it's going to increase the ability of the vitamin C to kill cancer. It changes the cancer metabolism. You guys got to tell me. The chronically fermenting cells metabolism, it changes them from glycolysis or fermentation and pushes them up into the normal way, oxidative phosphorylation, the healthy way, right? That's what it does. Okay. You know that one spot? Everybody got one spot back there. I can't even with this because whatever. So ALA does that. ALA, alpha lipoic acid, is it also regenerates the liver. Very important. It regenerates the liver. We all need our liver to be regenerated because it's being taxed all day long. Remember, if you've got feces in your colon, it's the toxins every 4 minutes are being recycled, absorbed, and sent up to your liver to be re-detoxified. Okay, so your liver's busy, and who doesn't have feces in their colon? Probably someone who just got a colonic, or someone who's been on a long fast. Yeah. So, anyway, ALA, no, take it. It has nothing to do with amalgam filling, but get the amalgams out by a biological dentist. How to get dead cancer cells out of your body? You don't have to worry. Your body will get rid of dead cancer cells. Not anything dead. Well, first of all, it depends on kind of chemotherapy or whatever you're doing, but they're causing most of it causes what's called apoptosis, which is recycling, and are no dead. So the dead or necrotic cells are quickly eaten up by we have a system in our body. It's part of the immune system. Remember, the immune system is the department of maintenance and the Department of Defense. And if you keep your immune system too busy with maintenance requirements, then it won't have as much energy left for defense. Remember, so the immune system is the Department of Defense and the Department of Maintenance. So don't give it too much work to do. You do the maintenance. Keep your colon clean. Eat real food. Do exercise. Move. Get your body moving. Get that flow. Urinate. Drink. Urinate. Drink. Urinate. Clean. Keep it flowing. Keep it flowing. Go to bed early. Restore your cells. Do all this stuff. Okay. Do all this stuff. Keep your colon clean. Do all this stuff. All right. So, how do we determine our individual needs for iodine? Okay. Now, that's a good question. Now, the truth is, Japanese, they've studied the Japanese. The Japanese eat about 13.8 milligrams per day from the age of 3 or 4 or 5. Right? That's what they eat in seaweed. Right? And they had it all over their body. Because remember, the iodine doesn't only go for your thyroid function. That's what you got to, number one. Because you got enough iodine, there's no Graves, there's no Hashimoto's, there's none of that stuff. Okay, and also the iodine is extremely important for breast health. And iodine, remember, iodine is also important for estrogen metabolism, which both men and women have to be aware of. Okay, it's necessary. Molecular iodine is necessary for estrone, which is not a which is an estrogen that will stimulate the alpha receptor and can increase growth of tissues, whereas estriol will do the opposite. It stimulates the beta receptor. So molecular iodine will help. It is necessary for estrone to become estriol. Okay, very important. Estrone also becomes estradiol, and estradiol becomes estrone. They go back and forth, and they both go to estriol, but estriol never goes back because estriol is an end point, just like 2-methoxyestradiol we talked about in the past. Very important. So anyway, so we all need iodine. We need it all the time. We need it just understand that. Just understand. It's the minimum you'll need is 12. Is you get a Lugol's tablet. Okay, you don't have. I've seen people asking me questions about the liquid is a bummer and it doesn't taste good. I agree. I was so glad when they finally came out with pills because I didn't like the liquid myself. But just take 12.5 milligrams a day because the smallest tablet. Well, there's one tablet I think there's half of that 6.75, but 12.5 milligrams a day. The Japanese do it, have been doing it, and they live 10 years longer than us. So don't worry about that. Okay, and there's no all the evidence shows that we need it. Now, the other thing that we know is that once you have enough iodine to go beyond, take your breast health, your and your prostate health, and you go beyond your thyroid needs. Now the iodine is going to get into your interstitial fluid and just kind of settle there and be all over your body, which is really good because as soon as chronically fermenting cells start to grow, the iodine attacks them and they can't grow. They can't grow and they can't move through the lymphatics. They can't move through the vascular system very easily. Now, so it's amazing stuff. Don't worry about that. Okay, but at the beginning of it, if you're just starting out with iodine, and you don't have to determine your need. You need it. It's like you need oxygen. And how much do you need? Well, minimum 12.5 milligrams a day. Minimum. Does vitamin D need vitamin K? Well, in a healthy situation, your body's making vitamin D because you're living in the equatorial zones where we came from, and vitamin K is being produced in your gut by bacteria. Yeah, so normally that's what happens. But does it need it? No, it still does what it does. It has a lot. A vitamin K can help it, can potentiate it, but you don't need it. Do you agree with women getting their ovaries removed because they have ER positive breast cancer, estrogen receptor positive breast cancer? No, no. And it's the same thing. It's the same question it's the same question would be for the man who's got prostate cancer. Should he have his testicles removed? Okay, so when you have your ovaries removed and your testicles removed, it's called castration. Okay, now what they'll do is if you that was the older form. Now they give drugs like Lupron and other ones that work at the top of the hypothalamus and completely knock out your whole hormonal system. They do that. They do that. And then they find out that whatever chronically fermenting condition you had in your breast or your prostate uh, becomes resistant to that. In other words, that no longer works. Why does it no longer work? Because that wasn't the cause in the first place. It was just a way of playing around with things, and it was a whack-a-mole thing. You whacked it down. Okay, you whacked it down for a while, but you didn't solve the problem because now you have hormone-resistant prostate cancer, hormone-resistant breast cancer, right? Okay, so no, I don't. You don't have to do that. What you need to do, Bordeaux, what you need to do is get really healthy, and learn to meditate, and that's what that's you. Keep every part that you were born with. You're very welcome. Fortitudo. Okay. Tamoxifen, good, bad, alternatives. Alternatives, soy. Tamoxifen, unnecessary. Unnecessary. Has terrible side effects. Soy does what it does and more. And there's also 2-methoxyestradiol, 2-ME2, and there's also estriol. Okay, all of these things. And flaxseed, and soy. What is the best way to heal bones through stage 4 breast chronic CFCs? Well, you got to don't just think of the bones, but if it's only in your bones at this point, then you're thinking of only bones. But really understand that there are microscopic islands and clusters all over. That's just the way it is. But anyway, doxycycline, which is an antibiotic that we've talked about in the past, and it's one of the repurposed drugs that's used by the Care Oncology Group. It's used by what was the other woman? That woman, somebody asked me about her, Jane McClellan, right? It was part of her. I think it was part of her protocol as well, and that's for very good reason. It does a lot of really important things by turning off the pathways of these chronically fermenting cells. So it's good. But in regards to bone, it actually blocks osteoclastic activity, which is the cells in the bone that break down the bone to make a space so that a chronically fermenting cluster of cells can go in there. So it doesn't allow that to happen. It also, and they go away. So I've had people on doxycycline for a while, 3-4 months, 5 months, and when we look again at the scan, we find that the bones are now sclerotic. Yes, Dr. Lodi just put. Yeah. So biologically identical hormones. Yeah. Okay. So now, interesting. How to cure multiple myeloma naturally? Well, one thing I would, naturally. Well, okay. There's no, remember, multiple myeloma, leukemias, lymphomas. They're all pretty much similar because the chronically fermenting cells are occurring, originating like in the bone marrow. All right, so they're all very similar. again, you've got to clean the water in the aquarium. You got to clean out. You got to do you got to do a prolonged juice cleanse. The juice cleanse, no eating. Juice cleanse, no eating. Juice cleanse, no eating. 3 quarts a day, no eating. 3 quarts a day, no eating. Yeah, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. The longer you can do it, the better it is. Get your colon clean. Do lymphatic therapies. Run around all day long. Climb trees. Roll on the ground with your kids. Or if you don't have any kids, make some kids. That's some good exercise too. Roll on the ground, jumping jacks, push-ups. Just move around, keep your body moving. Like about every hour, get up and do something like that for 10 minutes and get back down. Just do that. Keep moving, all that sort of thing. And then go to sleep early, all that stuff. But if you have multiple myeloma, that depends on what's going on. If it's in the bone already, if it's in the spine, then you can't. There's really no natural. At that point, I mean, the most natural thing you could do is just do a water fast, but you can't do a prolonged 41-day water fast unless you have been, unless you're being supervised or you're somewhere. You just can't do it in your normal setting with, unless you're experienced and you've been doing it all, for many times, then it's a whole different story. But that's the most natural thing. But otherwise, multiple myeloma, like leukemias and lymphomas, they need a really aggressive work with vitamin C. And that's naturally. It's not natural. Vitamin C in an IV form is obviously not natural, but it's a natural substance and all that sort of thing. But vitamin C, amazing for that. And leukemia is amazing. Yeah. Okay, can you speak about hormone therapy for breast cancer? Yeah, no. Restore your hormones back to normal balance. Use estriol, biologically identical estriol. Use soy, miso, tempeh, tofu, natto. Yep. A lot. Every day. Flaxseed smoothies. 3 tablespoons ground up into a smoothie. Make it. Eat it. Okay. Yeah, and that's hormonal therapy. That's real hormonal therapy. And my thoughts on Xgeva for bone mets. No, Xgeva is just very, very too many side effects, really nasty stuff. And you can take care of it with doxycycline. Yeah, don't worry about it. You take doxycycline, and some people will use one of the bisphosphonates like Zometa. It depends on how extensive it is and all that sort of thing. So, but yeah, Xgeva is no increased benefit at all, to say the least. Is modified citrus pectin good to kill chronically fermenting cells? Well, what it does, probably the most important thing of modified citrus pectin is that it actually prevents it from spreading, and it decreases inflammation. It's really, really good. So it can't go and spread. It can't go anywhere. So that's probably the most biggest, and does that through working on by decreasing what is called galactin-3. Galactin-3 is a chemical that's produced by the cells that allows these chronically fermenting cells to adhere to the wall of a blood vessel or a lymph vessel, and then cross over to another tissue and cause problems. Yeah. So now, can HBOT make cancer cells grow more rapidly? No. Thoughts on cold plunging? Excellent. Good stuff. Cold plunging, hot, cold. If you do hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, that's very good. Always have more colds than hots. How to increase hemoglobin? Well, you got to find out if there's anything that's decreasing your hemoglobin and stop doing that, whatever that is. Number one. Number two, you got to make sure that you are not bleeding anywhere. Sometimes you could have a slow bleed and not know about it because it's inside, and you just don't know about it. Eventually, your stools will become black. Then you would know about it. Um, so you want to look for where you want to make sure you don't have a G6P deficiency, so you're not hemolyzing. So if all of these things are not happening, and you want to increase your hemoglobin, and it could be from heavy periods. Heavy periods could cause uh, anemia as well, which is a decreasing hemoglobin. And then yeah. Oh, by the way, but and then testosterone increases hemoglobin nicely, very nicely. In fact, it's one of the side effects of the guys that are taking too much testosterone is that their hemoglobin goes too high and their blood gets too thick. Um, I saw on there was a Anne, I think her name is Anne, shared or there was a comment she made to a woman who had a very sad presentation on TikTok, um, and she was just talking about she did the chemo and she thought everything was fine and all that, and she was talking about how terrible it was and to go through the chemo, and then she got through it finally, and now here she is, and just went to check, and she just spoke to her oncologist, and it has come back. And I just want that woman to know, and I know I don't know how to reach her. I replied to that thing. Thank you for sharing that, Anne. But you don't. It doesn't have to go that way. You don't have to do that. You don't have to get beaten up and destroyed and poisoned because it doesn't work. Now it doesn't work. If it worked, you'd say, okay, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through hell for a year, and then I'll be fine. If that's what it was, then okay, then let's. Some people would choose to do that, but it doesn't work. Doesn't work. What they do doesn't work. Thank you, Olympian, M, Olympian. Anyway, that's don't please. I wish I can get in touch with you because you looked so sad. It was just really and you're not alone. There's so many people out there getting destroyed by these evil. And if you guys ever think I'm like over the top in my disdain for them, it's no. And they're not innocent. Well, but my oncologist is really a nice guy. No, not nice, because he wants to poison you and kill you. No, he doesn't want to kill me. Well, but he knows the data. He knows that if you do all this, you're most likely going to die. And also, guess what? Why is it that the oncologists send their spouses to us when they have chronically fermented cells? And why do oncologists come to us? Because they know. And if they don't know, they should know, because that's their job, right? Their job is to help people with chronically fermenting cells, right? So shouldn't they know everything about that if they're going to be the one that you're going to put your life in their hands? You're going to put your life in their hands. Don't you expect that they should know all there is to know about this situation? Yeah, they should. They don't. If and they don't care. They don't care. Coming off 2 years of targeted drug for chronic leukemia, worried about recurrence. Okay, well, one thing I'd like to mention about that is that one of the hallmarks of leukemia on a biochemical level, is the loss of what they call TET2 function, and that's 1011 translocase. Anyway, it has to do with the it's like on a gene. It's the way genes are working. Okay, so it's called the TET2. So anyway, loss of that can result in. I mean, that's pretty much one of the hallmarks of leukemias. Um, but it's not a mutation, I'm telling you, because you can restore it. So if you can restore it, it's not a mutation. Remember, you can't restore Down syndrome. You can't restore Hurler's syndrome, which if you ever look that up and look at some of the pictures of the people that have Hurler syndrome, there's a lot of syndromes there's a lot of truly genetic conditions, and we'll never see them. They don't ever come out in public because they're institutionalized because they can't function, right? What we see are the high functioning Down syndrome. But anyway, these are mutations. But this is not. So anyway, so the TET2 function is the loss of that function. It can results in leukemia and also myelodysplastic syndrome, which is like does progress into leukemias and things like that. And so what they found was that the progenitor cells in the bone marrow, the ones that are going to become, like they're like stem cells that are going to become, right? If you lose your TET2 function in there, then you wind up getting leukemias. Well, guess what? Guess what is better than any kind of wait you're coming off of some sort of agent that was blocking it. Okay, it turns out that vitamin C in high doses, and you can find the studies. You can find the studies. Vitamin C, it's a cofactor. It's a cofactor. It's a necessary requirement for the well, I don't want to get too technical, but alpha ketoglutarate dependent dioxygenases. And what it winds up doing is reversing the TET2, and there are studies that show this. So high dose vitamin, nothing else does it. Nothing else does it. So then also, one of the things they use, they can do this with the PARP inhibitors. Remember the PARP inhibitors, the polyribose. They're called PARP inhibitors. Anyway, they block this particular thing. So with that, along with the leukemia, along with the vitamin C in high doses, can actually do that because it allows them. It restores the ability of the cells to now, for the progenitor cells to now go back into normal cells, healthy cells. So instead of becoming aberrant clones, they go to healthy cells. This is what it does. But if you lost that TET2, that TET2, then what happens is they become aberrant, they become leukemic cells. Okay, so that's very, very important with leukemia. Keep that in mind. And the way it happens is that there's something called epigenetics, and epigenetics is the environment around the nucleus, the environment around the cells. Okay, epigenetics. And epigenetics, in other words, what you're eating, drinking, breathing, going through your skin, thinking, all that stuff is in your fluid, your interstitial fluid around your cells, and those are causing your cells to. It's doing different things. Your cells are responding to the environment in which they live. They live in your interstitial fluid. Okay, so one of the key mechanisms of epigenetic modification of the genome, okay, and that modification is just silencing or turning it up, turning the volume up or turning the volume down. That's what it is. And one of them is called methylation. Okay, so it's that hypermethylation turns off certain stuff like P53. It turns off lots of important things, turns it off through epigenetics. And what are those epigenetics? It's what you're eating. It's what you're not defecating. It's what you're, if you're living in a toxic relationship, or have had toxic friends, or toxic job or anything where you're really bummed out, okay, or what you're eating and you're not moving around, all that sort of thing, all the things we talk about that contribute to it. Okay, well, it turns out that the hypomethylating, in other words, taking off those methyl groups, restores the function, right? And then vitamin C does I mean, it's like crazy how good it is. Anyway, let's go back to where we were. Here we go. Questions. Wait, questions. I got to be careful here. I don't. There we go. Yeah, I found it without. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Is wheatgrass good for ulcers? Yeah, well, wheatgrass is good for everything, but yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot of other things you can do for ulcers too. You got to. There's usually an association with an organism called H. pylori, but that's due to a dysbiosis, and you can use colloidal silver. There's a lot of different ways of taking care of that, but you've got to restore your. How come I can't? You know, it's because I'm wearing a shirt. I'm wearing a shirt, so I can't get to that place. There it goes. Okay, cool. Great. Okay. Anyway, cool. I'm happy with that. But wheatgrass is excellent. I mean, it's excellent, but it's not sufficient. You need many, many more things. You want to get your gut back to normal, get rid of that H. pylori, and you can, and it'll let your microorganisms, the healthy microorganisms, let them be the police. Let them restore the gut and get rid of the H. pylori. But you can also use colloidal silver, and the only one I use is from a company called Natural Immunogenics, and they produce something called Sovereign Silver, which I think is you can buy in a health food store, and they also produce our Jensen 23, which is the one they sell to doctors, which is too bad. They should sell it to the public because it's just a little bit stronger and it's better. But you drink that because the other colloidal silvers you got to be careful about. Okay, I love Lugol's. Thought of taking it with DMSO. Well, I know you must be talking about the liquid. Yeah, you can take. This is from Instagram topic. I love Lugol. I thought of taking it with DMSO. You mean you're putting it on your skin? Yeah, you can put it on your skin and then you can put DMSO. But usually, if you put a few drops of Lugol's on your skin will absorb it. That's one of the ways we used to. That's how we used to take it. You know, if you didn't want to drink it back in the day. So I took Lugol's in high quantities, and my TSH ended up going down. Interesting. So you were taking. Well, I don't know how long did you keep doing that? Because if you kept doing it in high, I don't know what you mean by high quantities. You're talking about 50 milligrams. You're talking about, I'm not sure what you're talking about in terms of that. But if you're taking really high quantities, what do you mean 50? If you're taking 50 milligrams of Lugol's, your TSH will eventually go up, and you will eventually become hypothyroid. And so that's why you have to. If you're doing it because you want to really restore or eliminate the deficit of iodine, and then give yourself a lot more so that you can get the other. Remember, we talked about the when you go beyond the thyroid, you go beyond the breast, and you actually wind up having enough iodine in your interstitial fluid to prevent chronically fermenting cells from growing. If you want to do that, you want to get there quicker than taking a year and a half, 2 years, and stuff like that, then you can take a higher dose, but just make sure you're taking a natural thyroid at the same time to keep your thyroid function normal. Your thyroid function must be normal. And you can do all of that by checking your basal body temperatures, which is your morning temperature in your armpit, your axilla, before you get out of bed, before you go to the bathroom, You check it real quick, write it down. You do that for 5 days, and you take the average. The average is less than 97.8 Fahrenheit or 36.8 centigrade. Then you are low thyroid, and you need to take more thyroid. We're not talking about the Lugol. The iodine is one thing. Thyroid function is another. Iodine is part of it, but okay. I'm totally confused. When I did my consultation, you encouraged me to get on bioidentical hormones because I was losing muscle. I consulted with a naturopath, and she put me on estradiol 1 milligram per 40 milligram testosterone 2 milligram. Are you saying estradiol promotes cancer? No. So no. I never said that. No. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is, if you have a breast condition, ovarian condition, any condition that they find that the estrogen receptors are positive, what they're talking about is estrogen receptor alpha. Okay, and when that is stimulated, it makes things grow. What stimulates them? Estrone and estradiol. What stimulates the beta receptor, which causes things to shrink? Estriol. So I don't know about this naturopath because I didn't think anyone now in the current times nowadays would put anyone on estradiol alone. What people usually do is they use bias, which is, and they can, 90-10 is probably the safest, 90% estriol and 10% estradiol. Okay. Or what I do is just 100% estriol, but I wouldn't use estradiol. Not that it promotes cancer. It only it has the word is it's an agonist for the alpha receptor. Okay, and if it's an agonist for the alpha receptor, and there's a hormonally positive, estrogen positive, chronically fermenting condition going on in your body, then yes, that would promote it. Would make it grow. Yeah. I heard someone's okay. I get an itchy allergic reaction to topical iodine. Do you think if I ingest it? No. You can take the Lugols. No, you won't. You'll be okay. Yeah. Since I take Armor Thyroid, do I need iodine? Two different things. If you take iodine long enough, you won't need to take the Armor anymore. So because the reason you're taking the Armor is because you don't have enough iodine. And the reason you don't have enough iodine is because you don't eat a Japanese diet or Korean diet. I heard someone say PET scans are bad for cancer because sugar feeds cancer. In the drink for PET scans is pure sugar. Is this true? All right, so what they use is something called fluorodeoxyglucose, which is a radioactive glucose, not the kind that these chronically fermenting cells like to eat. They like to eat just plain old glucose. They're not into the radioactive stuff. So no, it's not. Yeah, that's not the reason. The reason you don't want to do, the reason not to do PET scans is that it's because of that radioactive element, which is why after the PET scan and after the CT scan, you go to your doctors and or go home if you can do it at home and get intravenous vitamin C, about anywhere from 8 to 10 grams per hour for about 3 or 4 hours. Okay, you do that. Small antioxidant doses. 5 grams per hour. 5 grams per hour. Testimonials on an Oasis Healing YouTube. Please tell us how you healed her. Who? We do. It's pretty much the same. Remember, keep in mind that the difference between any cancer is not the biology of the cancer. The biology of the cancer is the biology of the cancer. The hallmark of cancer is what they call um, aerobic glycolysis. That's the metabolic hallmark, and that is all cancers. There's no genetic abnormality that defines all cancers. The genetic aberrations are downstream epiphenomena. Okay, and they're that way. Why? They're that way because um, these cells are relying on fermentation, which is really like a rapid thing happening, and uh, it kind of just like upsets the balance, and it results in an unstable genome, right? And you can wind up getting alterations in the genome um, because of that. But it's not the other way around. It's not that the genetics cause it. All right. So um, anyway, so the point is this: breast cancer, ovarian cancer, brain cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, bone cancer, leukemias, blood cancer. The only difference is the first word, and the first word is location. And location is what determines how it's going to progress, right? Because if it's in a location like in the brain, it can't grow too far. You've got to do something quickly. If it's in the pancreas, it's going to quickly involve other organs. If it's in other places like the breast, it won't involve other organs very quickly and stuff like that. So it really depends on location. So we did probably the same thing. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but healthy food, cleansing, colon cleanse. I mean, all the same things. That's what we did, including the vitamin C. We probably used IPT, insulin potentiated low dose chemo. We do that sometimes when we have to. Insulin potentiated curcumin, insulin potentiated quercetin. Yeah, all this stuff. Where are you going to get B12? You're going to get B12 from taking you'd be surprised you might not get that deficient, but if you do get deficient from being vegan, then you would take you can take a capsule of it. Now remember, B12 is not made by animals; it's made by bacteria. It's a bacterial product. So B12 is cyanocobalamin is a bacterial microorganism byproduct, and the only reason the cow has it, so when you eat the cow, you're going to get it, is because the cow's face is in the dirt all day long, right? And so they're getting all these microorganisms in them. And so they have a lot of microorganisms that produce B12. And that's it. It's not them. But we're so clean, we're wash everything. We don't want any germs, and we don't want any earth to get on us. In fact, it's not earth, it's dirt. Dirt. Dirt, right? It's not earth. Dirt. You see, that's our relationship with nature. That's how whacked we are. Our relationship with nature is we call the beautiful earth that gives us this incredible soil that gives plants that we should be paying homage to and saying thank you to these plants. They're taking the light of the sun and they're converting it into biological energy. That's how all biology lives, because of that one process of photosynthesis. And that's the earth is doing that because it holds the plant. It's not dirt. It's not dirt is a pejorative term, and I don't think it's appropriate for soil, earth. Anyway, so if we were a little more earthy, we would have lots of those bacteria. We need those bacteria in our small intestines so that they can produce the B12, and then it gets absorbed in our small intestines, because that's the only place we do it. Now, this is from JC. Okay, on TikTok. Well, meat is available year-round, and plants are not. It makes no sense to say it's not our natural food when that's our natural diet, and veganism is new. Whoa. I guess you really, yeah, I'm sure you believe that, what you just wrote. So, meat is available all year round. So, What does that mean? So you mean like squirrels and snakes and I don't. We're doing okay. So because I can't fathom how this idea came up to you. Um, let me just explain to you. Humans, look at you see, go to the mirror and check yourself out. Hands, fingers, even if you had long nails, they break. They're not claws. So if you were in your natural environment, which is where was our natural environment? Where do humans come from? Humans come from the equatorial and subequatorial zones. Wherever you're going to see chimps, gorillas, orangutans, that's where you would also see natural humans. There's a few natural humans around. Hopefully, still close to natural. But keep in mind, civilization is the opposite of natural. Civilization is blasphemous. And the consequence is what we have now. Chronically fermenting cells. The ocean is almost dead. It's safer to eat out of your toilet than to eat out of the oceans. Anyway, so that's what civilization has done. But anyway, so in our natural habitat, where we come from, there were fruit and plants abundantly, and water and sunshine and fantastic. And it wouldn't take more than an hour a day to take care of your biological requirements, your food and all that stuff. The rest of the time would be for just enjoying life and, maybe art, whatever, art, reading, music, learning, but things like that, dancing. So that's our natural habitat. And there was no need to eat an animal. And by the way, if we did decide to eat an animal, how are we going to kill it? We weren't equipped. So when I say in a natural food, I mean the fact that we're not designed to kill. I guess you could sneak up on a squirrel and strangle it. You could do that. What else could you do? A chipmunk, you could strangle a chipmunk. Guinea pigs, easy, right? So I guess we could get some of those slow rodents. But you think we just pick them up and eat them? I mean, that's what the lion would do, right? Or the dog. They just eat it, right? The cat, they just eat it. Nah, not too good. All right. So then, how are we going to eat this animal? But we can only catch the little guys. We can't catch. I guess if we ran into a cow, I mean, cow's not going to run from us. But there's no cows on the equator unless we brought them there. It's not where they hang out. Anyway, it's not that. So our natural diet is fruit and vegetables and nuts and seeds. And I don't know. Maybe if we came up on a bird's nest, we probably ate some eggs and things like that. But I'm just saying, that's it. So that's why I say it. And the only reason that animal flesh, what you're calling meat, animal flesh, the only reason that animal, I'm talking about the corpse of the animal, because JC, I'm sure you understand that you only eat corpses, right? Corpses. Okay. So when you eat a corpse, you got to question, well, when was the corpse killed? When was the animal killed? And how old is this corpse? You'd be surprised. Check it out. Anyway, available all year round. Yeah, that's because they're killed here and they're shipped over there and all that sort of things. Anyway, it's not. Anyway, I know you want to continue to eat it because you like it, because you grew up on it. I get that. But that's not in your best interest or the animal's best interest. Okay, so My oncologist recommended hormone blockers. I had a lumpectomy, and it was not in tissue or lymph nodes. Oh, okay. I don't want to take blocker. Do you recommend? Yeah, just don't forget the blocker. Soy. We talked about soy, flax, all those things, right? And eat healthy and be healthy and go to sleep early. All those things. Forget that. Now, Kathy, I know you mentioned many supplements and you cured yourself from bone meds. No, no, no. I never had such a thing. Never had bone meds. Never had no chronically fermenting conditions. What are the very top affordable and easily procured supplements for bone meds from estrogen positive? I reluctantly take estradiol. Well, yeah, letrozole. Yeah. So again, doxycycline, very, very, very good. Vitamin C, and vitamin A and vitamin D, selenium, magnesium, all of these things. Taking them all the time, getting your thymus gland functioning again with the TA1, getting the thymosin alpha 1 to get your T cells activated again. All that's very, very important. But keeping clean and healthy and all that. So you don't need that. You don't need the letrozole. But as like I said, flaxseed and soy will take care of it. You've heard that. You've heard me say that before, right? I hope you have, because I mentioned it several times today already. So yeah. Okay, so here we go. What do you think of Kangen water? Wow, alkaline water is not. I don't. We don't need alkaline water. We need spring water, water from a stream. This is rolling through it, and that's what we need. That's what we need. That's what we need. But if it's extremely alkaline, if pHs of 8, 9, like that, are just way too high, and they're going to neutralize your stomach acids, which is a bad deal. You don't want to neutralize your stomach acids. So I don't drink the Kangen water. My husband, who is 69 years old, was diagnosed with stage 4 colon and liver cancer 20 months ago. He started chemo right away. He has been on these medications in a 46-hour pump. He was taken off some drug that had given him bad neuropathy in his hands. Obviously, it isn't working. I would love for him to schedule a consultation with you, but that's not where he is yet. What are some steps I can encourage him to take towards giving him some hope? Whoa. Well, so he doesn't want to schedule a consultation. So it doesn't. Well, he's been poisoned, and he's not healthy now because he's been poisoned. It's not because of the cancer or the chronically fermenting cells. It's not for that reason, but it's because he's been poisoned so thoroughly. It looks like it's 46-hour pumps. I mean, anyway, you just tell him. I mean, you can go take him to my website, an oasisofhealing.com, an oasisofhealing.com. That's one website. Take him there and have him look at some of the testimonials to get some hope, because people were much, much sicker than he is who are fine. I want to know if I can continue taking statins while on a detox, juice, or water fast. No, not water fasting. You can take things during a juice cleanse, but why are you taking statins would be the question. If you're taking it as a repurposed drug, are you taking it for cholesterol. So you mentioned, hi, Dr. Lodi, you mentioned purging on Facebook. What exactly do you mean? Is this a detox program? I mentioned purging. Well, purging usually refers to colon hydrotherapy. Cleaning the colon usually refers to that. I'm not. I wish I knew the sentence I said, because I'm not sure what that's referring to. But purging, when you know, I think that was used as far back as um, Homer. Homer talked about that. Remember Homer, right? Iliad and the Odyssey, way back when. Yeah. You all know, you all hear of a book, a group, um, Encyclopedia Britannica put out a set called The Great Books. You all know that? Anyway, I think the first ones were Homer, Iliad and the Odyssey. Classic, amazing work of literature. Written, what, 3,000 years ago? Purging, old news, very important. I must have meant the colon. I'm a 70-year-old female postmenopausal recently diagnosed with an abnormally thickened endometrial stripe measuring up to 1 centimeter, containing numerous tiny cysts, suggesting endometrial hyperplasia versus a cystic endometrial mass. Anterior mid-uterine intramural fibroid. Doctor has recommended biopsy. Also recently diagnosed with type 2. Okay, so you just need to make some big changes in your life. Make some big, Carolyn, make some big changes in your life. And don't let anybody poke you with a biopsy needle at all, because biopsies cause problems. And it gives them a histology, because most what they call diagnoses are histology. They want to get a piece of tissue, they get a piece of tissue, they can give it that name. And then once they give it that name, they give it to you, they cast a spell on you, they stick it in their algorithm, and then they take you on the journey to the morgue. And that's what they do. This what should be on their up there above their door. Journey to the morgue. A few people do well. And half of them only for a while. It has to come. Health is our goal. We're not looking to get rid of this or that or this or that. We're looking to be restored to health, because where there is health, there is no this or that. Okay? That's what we're looking to do. All right? And how do we achieve health? One way. There are not two ways. The road is narrow. This is narrow. There's only one way to achieve health, and that's from living healthy. There's not another way. Living healthfully. There's not another way. Just not another way. So, health cannot be purchased. It cannot be coerced. It cannot be negotiated. It can only be earned. If you're eating soy and flax, do I need to be taking progesterone? Yeah, that's a good question. Probably. Yeah, but a good bioidentical one, and you can get it in a cream form and plant-based, made from plants. Yeah. Oh, I didn't talk about coffee enemas. Let me do that, and that's how we'll end today. Okay. So, really important. Enemas in general are, and this is, I'm answering your question. This is from who is it? Rachel. Yeah. So, okay. Now, when we talk about enemas, there are two types of enemas. There are cleansing enemas and there are retention enemas. Okay, and they do have two different purposes. Obviously, the cleansing enema is to clean the colon, actually to clean the rectal vault and the part of the distal end of the descending colon. Clean that out. That's what a cleansing enema will do. And then things will shift down. And then now, if you don't do that, now what is a retention enema for? A retention enema. Now, retention can be coffee. It can be, a sprout juice. It can be wheatgrass. It can be any kind of nutrient. It can be butyric acid, butyrate, which is really healthy. It's a short chain fatty acid that if you were eating healthy and you had good healthy bacteria and they were breaking down the fiber that you ate because you ate a lot of fiber, they would be producing butyric acid. And also these come mainly from an organism called Bifidobacter bifidus, which it has been shown these injections that they're calling JABs and they're calling VAXXs, and they're all these little cute things. They're calling them. They're not cute. They're not cute. They're evil. But they actually get rid of this bifidobacter, and you don't have any butyrate. Anyway, I digressed again. So now, if you're going to do a coffee enema, if you're going a coffee retention enema, you're going to do even a wheatgrass enema. First, you want to do a cleansing enema to clean out the colon, to clean out the rectum, and to clean out the upper, the lower part of the descending colon. Why? Because when the coffee goes in, when you want to put the coffee in, if you put the coffee in and you haven't done that, the coffee and the volume of water in the coffee is going to stimulate a bowel movement, and you're going to be very hard to hold it, and it's going to probably come out. But even if you did hold it, it's sitting there amidst feces, and it's not getting to the bowel wall where it needs to get so it can be absorbed and go to your liver. So if you don't do the cleansing enema first, it's almost you're not getting much benefit out of it. So you need to clean that out first. And you probably use about 1 or 2 liters, 3 liters, quarts. Think of quart and liter as the same. 1, 2, 3 quarts. Whatever you need to do a good, put a little bit of salt in it. Put 1 teaspoon per quart of Himalayan sea salt. And then do some cleansing enemas. Make sure you're nice and clean. Then you do the coffee enema. Now, the way you do the coffee enema is you go to S.W. Wilson. Is it S.A. Wilson? S.W. I can't remember. Anyway, they have good, but there might be other brands now because they've been around for decades. But it's a blonde. They call it a blonde coffee, and it's because it's been they only roast it for about 45 seconds. It's a very short, quick roast. You have to roast it to activate the palmitates that are necessary to stimulate your liver production of glutathione S transferase. That's what it does. That's why you're doing it, which is part of the phase 2 detoxification. So you need to activate it with a very short roast. If you roast it longer, you're gonna decrease the concentration of those chemicals that are produced that are part of coffee. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so that's it. I'm answering your question here. Why do you use to clean out? What do you use to clean out? Saltwater enema. You clean out. Then you do the coffee. Now, here's how you get the coffee. Now, I don't know why, but a lot of people I hear that they're doing like a quart of water with the coffee. It's crazy. Even if you just did a cleansing enema and you put a quart of water in, it's going to still stimulate your body to evacuate it. I don't know how. I don't understand. So anyway, you clean out first, then you take, like, say, 3 tablespoons of the blonde coffee, and you put it into 2 cups of water. You stir it and bring it to a boil, and then simmer it until those 2 cups simmer down to 1 cup. In other words, the water has evaporated. So you have 1 cup left of an extremely concentrated concoction of palmitates, and then You pour that through either a metal or a nylon screen. You don't use that paper filter because that'll take away the stuff you need. It'll absorb the good stuff. So you use one of those filters and you pour it through there. Now you've got 1 cup of concentrated coffee for your enema, and you've already cleaned out. Now you put that in, and now also the other thing too, and you can do this for both the cleansing and the retention, is put maybe three pillows underneath your hips so that your pelvis is elevated relative to your chest. Okay, so that whatever goes into your rectum goes uphill. Because you want to get that up as far as you can. So you don't have to lay on your left side or your right side or none of that nonsense. Just do that. And now you hold it for a minimum of 15, 20 minutes. Great time to meditate. Great time to read a book on nutrition, healing, health, or scripture. Perfect time. All right, guys. Lodi Kap. Namaste. Aloha. And next week, as I mentioned earlier on, and again, I'm flying to the U.S. on Monday, so your Sunday, so I won't be able to do it next week. So we're going to skip a week, unless if you guys would rather do it on the following day on a Monday, I can do that. But you're all working and stuff, I think, so it might not work out. So anyway. So we'll skip next week and I'll see you the week after. Okay. All right. Sawasdee Cup. Let's see that.